Welcome back, wrestling fans. I'm here today with AEW Dynamite, December 11th, 2019 review. I have to say the show had some ups, but it had mostly downs in my opinion. The show kind of bored me. I didn't see a lot of interesting things going on in this show that got me overwhelmed and excited, unfortunately. Jon Moxley's little interaction with Chris Jericho was pretty interesting, and a couple of other things occurred during the show. The main event was fantastic. That is the one plus out of this show that I did like. But the rest of the show you could have taken or leave it. It really didn't matter to me. This show did not get me super excited for anything. Not to mention, there's no World Championship on the line, I found out. Jungle Boy is competing in a non-singles match, a non-title match with Chris Jericho. That could be a positive. Most definitely for any viewing fan of this product, they will actually get a match that's unpredictable. There could be a possibility Jungle Boy could pull up an upset and really look good in this event with Chris Jericho, which I think is a great idea. I am glad they're not going with a world title match. They don't need to give this guy a world title opportunity. He's not worthy of a world title match. But for a singles one-on-one matchup to get his name out there, I think is the right thing to do. So things really just kicked off with Alex Reynolds versus Jon Moxley. Moxley rushes right in and lays Reynolds out with an underhooks paradigm shift and gets the 1-2-3, and that's how the match all ends. Chris Jericho then comes out and with his inner circle and make the entrance and they surround the ring. Y2J gets into the ring, and on the mic he tells Mox that if they were going to attack, they would have done it already, and he's just here to have a gentlemanly conversation. The inner circle are impressed by John, and as far as Jericho's concerned, he's the top guy, number one. But that's no surprise because they've had a long history together a decade ago through their run-in with WWE, of course. Mox came to him looking for advice with a little leather jacket and his Kurt Cobain haircut, and Chris gave him advice to become a star, and he did. They then became enemies and they beat the living shit out of each other, which was not bleep, by the way. Tax, destruction of property, a 50-point piece of crockery, and through that he taught Mox how to be a champion. And then when he wanted to ignite his passion for the business again, Mox called Jericho and he navigated him right here to AEW. Sure, he repaid him by laying him out at Double or Nothing, but that showed Y2J that he's still a winner. But he's only just begun to realize his importance here in AEW and harnessing all his power. And once again, he needs Chris Jericho. Can you imagine what it'd be like if Hager, Santana, Ortiz, Guevara, Jericho, and Moxley joined forces? This is all coming from Chris Jericho in this promo. That's why they're here, to ask Moxley to join the Inner Circle. And Chris Jericho has an Inner Circle t-shirt in hand, and he says he doesn't expect an answer tonight. Jon Moxley is standing there with the shirt on his shoulder, and he's kind of looking at the camera and just going, is this guy for real? Like, does he think I'm that fucking stupid? Or what? And honestly, this is kind of a weak ploy. I've seen this done in WWE many a times, but is a very smart decision as a heel champion who's worried about losing his title. So, of course, having him part of his faction, it will help him out in the long run, because then Moxley would be his sidekick instead of his enemy. And he don't want him as his enemy. He'd rather have him as an adversary. Somebody that can watch his back. Or an ally, I should say. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, does anyone really believe, and leave this in the comment section, does anyone really believe that there's any possibility Jon Moxley's going to join Chris Jericho's inner circle? I mean, that just sounds ridiculous. He doesn't even fit in with that group anyway. So that's just my overall opinion. I think the whole idea and the whole what they're trying to tell here is kind of not believable. It's not giving me the impression that this could possibly happen. So it's leaving it very predictable. So I didn't particularly think that was a really neat idea or original idea, but I understand what they're trying to go here with. So that's just how I feel on that one topic here. The Butcher and the Blade facing Cody Rhodes and this partner of his called QT Marshall. Never heard of this fucking guy before in my life. So Marshall and Parks start things off, which is the Blade. But Rhodes tags himself right in. Circling collar and elbow into the corner. Big drop kick and mounted punches. Just to go through all this matchup was okay. I think this was an alright matchup. It was decent. It wasn't nothing spectacular. But Cody Rhodes does not eat the pinfall. His partner does in the process. So he actually eats the loss here for Cody Rhodes' team. After the match, Darby Allin comes storming down the entry past Butcher and Blade and the Bunny to give Rhodes a hand and help him up. And that was when they go to break at that point. We get a great promo, and I mean a fantastic promo. I can't... This kid... I mean, I understand. I have a viewer on my channel that despises this guy because of his attitude. And by all means, you have a right to your opinion, and I'm not going to dish you for it. But this promo here, I have to give this guy props. This promo that he performed, MJF, was fucking picture perfect. I loved what he delivered here. He was on all cylinders, hitting every bit of topic you can possibly handle. And the best part about it is his interaction with the crowd. He's never forgetting the crowd. He is always interacting with them, which is what Chris Jericho does as well on this show. And I like that. WWE does not do that kind of stuff. Not very often. I mean, like, let's say a heel comes out in front of a crowd. Do you ever see a heel character with the crowd in WWE actually go ahead and tell its audience to shut the fuck up and not cheer for them when they know they're supposed to be booed? They'd rather be booed than being cheered, because that's what they're trying to portray. They're trying to portray a bad guy. They don't want to be cheered. They want to be booed. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to have you hate their fucking guts. MJF, I gotta say, man, he's got that crowd in the palm of his hand. He was fucking hitting it on all cylinders. He got that crowd booing the shit out of him, calling him an asshole, because he was acting like an asshole. He was providing the biggest heel promo I've ever seen in a very long time. The only other person I can even think of, and I know for certain people love Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa's promo back in 2018 when he explained why he turned on Johnny Gargano was beautiful. I thought that was fantastic. And this reminded me a lot of Tommaso Ciampa's promo with MJF. He was telling the audience they're a bunch of hillbilly hicks. He was saying they suck. He thinks that everything about them suck, their opinions blow, and he made fun of Cody Rhodes' his voice impediment that he has, the little wisp that he has when he talks. He has like a little issue when he talks and so forth, which is what his dad had, and I thought that was fantastic. He also touches on the topic of what Cody Rhodes talked about last week. About he thought it was cute that he was offering anything which he could to get MJF in the ring to face each other one-on-one. And MJF's attitude is, you don't have to pay me none of that. All you have to do is suffer. That's what I want you to do. I want you to suffer. I thought that was fucking awesome. Based on the character he's trying to portray to the audience. So they're taking their number one guy and making him be treated like shit. I think that's great. The other thing that he says is, you really want this match to happen? You really want it to happen? He asks the crowd. He goes ahead and he says, do you guys want to see MJF and Cody Rhodes go one-on-one? The crowd went nuts for it. And he says, but he's got a couple of stipulations, and he's not going to bring it up in front of this Honkyville, Texas town. He says he's going to give us the stipulations in Jacksonville. And the other thing that he mentioned is he knows Cody is back there like a pit bull on a leash, praying to God somebody's gonna unleash him, but MJF's in control right now, not him. Thought that was fucking awesome. And he had the cameraman get really close to his face, and he was intense when he said all these comments. I thought it was fucking awesome. That's what you need. You need intensity in your fucking promos. Where is the intensity in professional wrestling these days? Because I'll tell you the truth, you're not going to find it in WWE unless it's in NXT. And even in NXT, they kind of have it watered down just a tad. But their wrestling, picture perfect, love it. Will never bitch or complain about NXT. I think NXT is a fantastic show. And lately, they have been hitting it on all cylinders. Not one episode have I seen in the last 3 to 4 weeks, almost a month, have they been bad. So, I give it to NXT. Here, I got a little bit of problems. I'll give you a prime example. This Brandy Rhodes gimmick, I'm not liking it. I think it's absolute garbage. Don't really care for it. The Dark Order, their little video package, having this guy by the name of Alex Reynolds is watching the TV in his hotel room, and an ad starts addressing him directly, talking about how the Dark Order have been watching the Beaver Boys lose, and all they have to do is join the Dark Circle, or Dark Order, I should say. My feelings on that. This promo, I will say it was fucking entertaining. It's definitely unique. It's a touch of the Wyatt family type shit with Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan and Harper. But they aren't, like, bad. It's not horrible. It's not over the top, outrageously insane. It's touching an idea of people that are not wanted being accepted within a cult, that are outsiders and such, which is just a false sense of security that they're not really caring about you. They don't give a fuck about you or anything else. You're just a slave to them under the idea of you being accepted and being part of a group, quote unquote. So that's just the whole gimmick in a nutshell. So I agree. I think the idea of what they do here with that gimmick is awesome. But Brandy Rhodes, which eventually we're going to touch on, I don't care for. I think it is absolutely fucking terrible. So we have Ariel Monroe faced Emma Sakura, who is third rank in the women's division. She actually has a fake mustache that she wears to the ring and has a microphone that she brings with her to the ring when she does her entrances. Now, I'm going to go on record and say that this match was okay. It wasn't great. I mean, I could sit there and watch my phone, and if I missed it, I didn't really fucking care. There was nothing to this match that said to me I need to drop my phone and watch this matchup. It really did not grab my attention whatsoever. So I didn't really care for this. What? Sorry. But Ariel Monroe does pick up the victory with the Dirty Dancing finishing maneuver that she performed in this matchup. Now, we did get a backstage interview with Pac. Now, this backstage interview had a lot to do with the fact that Pac is very upset with how AEW management is handling the situation with him and Kenny Omega. He believes that him and Kenny Omega should be having a third match with each other and ending this feud off of that third match. My feelings on the comment that he came across and how his delivery of this promo was, I think, was excellent. I think he did an outstanding job. He was right on point. He was solid, and he delivered with a lot of intensity. I like the heels on the show. They do a very good job at getting you to dislike them, even though you know that this is all just, for a show. But they do a good job to get you to dislike them, even though you don't really want to. You like what they do and what they offer in the ring. But the characters they're portraying, they get you to want to dislike them anyway. So I do have to give Pac and MJF a lot of credit in their promos here tonight. Fantastic job to both of them. So I give them tons of credit. So we should eventually see Pac and Kenny Omega go one-on-one with each other in a third match. Who wins that match? I think we ought to go with Pac. I think Kenny Omega has got enough star power with his character that he doesn't really need to win the matchup to get over and move forward with the world title opportunity. I don't think that that's really needed at this time. I think what's going to happen, I think Jon Moxley is going to face Chris Jericho at the pay-per-view that now just recently was announced on February 29th called AEW Revolution. I think at this pay-per-view we should see Jon Moxley win the AEW World title from Chris Jericho and be the second world champion on this program. From there, we should see Jon Moxley defend that title for the first time against maybe Pac or possibly facing Chris Jericho, and then his first real opponent after Jericho would be Pac. But I think they should skip out on the whole title rematch bullshit and just move into a new opponent and have Jericho reappear later on for a rematch at some point. Not because he demanded or had a clause, but because Jericho won some matches to get that number one contender spot back to challenge for the title again. So I think that would be the best thing for them to do about this. At an eventual point within the year of 2020, you would have Chris Jericho win the World Heavyweight title from Jon Moxley and be the third champion. That's how I see this whole thing unraveling. Because, honestly, what we have seen is three of the top guys right now that really are challengers or main eventers for this world title is Moxley, Jericho, and Kenny Omega. At any point in time, you could even eventually turn it into a triple threat match instead of having single matches, which they have not done a triple threat match for that world title ever since it's just brand new, and we've only seen it around for only a year almost. So that would probably be another cool idea they could throw in there for a title defense for Jon Moxley. So maybe at that point with the triple threat match, you have Kenny Omega win that world title and then you get a rematch with Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, because Kenny didn't beat Jon Moxley, beat Chris Jericho in that matchup, if you were to do a triple threat match. So that's how I would go along with that. Just some creative ideas for like future world title matches leading up into the future. Now, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega teamed together against Kip Sabian and Shawn Spears. Now, one thing I will say about this matchup, it was a pretty solid, okay matchup for a tag team match. Again, there was a lot of tag team action in this from what I saw. And I will say this, Joey Janela tying up Tully Blanchard was completely idiotic. I don't understand what the point was of a fucking blackout for like almost 2 minutes, and then poof, the lights go on, and all of a sudden we're doing like a Undertaker type bullshit, and you got freaking Tully Blanchard tied up to a fucking chair with rope and a duct tape over his mouth. That's just, to me, it's just fucking ridiculous. So I didn't particularly like that, just to get Shawn Spears out of the match and have Kenny Omega kind of get some advantage over Kip Sabian, and then at some point you get Adam Page out of fucking nowhere just tag himself in and get a buckshot lariat maneuver on Kip Sabian to get the victory here. To me, that seemed a little awkward and out of character to me, so that kind of gives me a sign maybe there's a heel turn on the rise or something for Adam Hangman Page at some point. I'm not sure. But you guys leave your comments and opinion on that one, because I think we might see Adam Page turn as a heel. Luchasaurus versus Sammy Guevara. This matchup was nothing much but a beatdown from hell. Sammy Guevara wins with a pinfall with a swinging tombstone facebuster. That's how the match ends. Sammy Guevara eats another loss. What is the point of this guy being called a Spanish god when this so-called Spanish god can't even win a fucking match? This is ridiculous. What is Sammy Guevara? If you're a fucking faction, you're called the Inner Circle, shouldn't you be an elite group of people who win most of the time and not lose? Because to be quite frank with you, everybody on the elite side win more than lose than like Sammy Guevara loses almost every fucking match. This guy hasn't won a fucking match since fucking summer. Since the summer. I think the last match he might have been involved with was a tag team match in a gosh darn 6-man tag team match at Fight for the Fallen. I think that was the last match this man has ever won. That is ridiculous. And how this guy is even part of the Inner Circle and he can't even win a match on his own is beyond me. I don't get it. It seems stupid and ridiculous. This guy is just eating one pinfall after another. I'm not particularly liking it. And not to mention, I don't really care for Sammy Guevara anyway. So it doesn't matter to me. After the match, Jericho and Hager attack, but Jungle Boy Jack Perry makes the save, and Perry with a Hurricanrana Marco stunt counts the pin, and if this were a match, that would be the finish. No. I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm sorry. I don't think a roll-up pin, Hurricanrana pin, will cut the mustard in a match with Chris Jericho. I'm sorry. I don't think that's how it should work. So that's just me. The last match was the main event. And I actually think I skipped over the whole promo with, Brandy Rhodes. Okay, let me go back to the Brandy Rhodes thing. I'll read off a little bit of what happened here. We get a video package of Brandy Rhodes wherein she asks what AEW would even look like without her. I don't know. A fucking wrestling show instead of a black cult pentagram that should be painted on her fucking chest? I don't understand this. This is a complete idiotic thing. Shouldn't you be caring about what's going on with your husband? Your husband's getting fucked over here. You're sitting here playing Mickey Mouse games, cutting people's heads like you're fucking CM Punk with the society that he had a long time ago, back in 2010 with WWE. I mean, come on, man. What is this insanity I'm watching here? This is a fucking bullshit show, what I'm watching right now. What would AEW be like without Brandy Rhodes? I don't know, a better show? I mean, I'm not dissing the show all the way, but, I mean, there's just some things on the show that just... You're saying you're an alternative product. Okay, great. What the fuck are you doing that's different than what WWE's doing? I've been trying to be understanding. I've been trying to be a little bit more bendable about what's been going on the last couple of weeks. But the last couple of weeks, I feel like I'm watching WWE with good wrestling, at least. But this show with these lame, over the hill gimmicks are just downright depleting this show and making it seem less of a show. It sucks. I want alternative wrestling like they were delivering earlier on this year. This is not alternative. This is WWE template of what they do. I don't need what they do. I want to see what you can do. You don't need promo. You don't need gimmicks like this. A gimmick like Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt, that's one thing. They're funny. They're entertaining. They're good wrestlers. But this shit, I'm sorry. I can't accept this. This is garbage to me. I don't think this is entertaining. I don't think this is wrestling. I don't feel like this is worth a continental shit. Sorry. But I will give AEW credit. They did an awesome job for the main event. The main event in a Texas street fight match for a #1 contendership, which thankfully we got a reason why these two should have a rematch. It's an opportunity to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team titles for next week on AEW Dynamite for December 18th. Thank you, Lord. We have a reason and a purpose for this match. And they did a great job displaying the match. It was outstanding. A lot of fun, entertaining, hardcore wrestling occurred in this match. Not like the fucking Full Gear match, which was totally brutal. It was beyond TVMA shit. So, and I don't know how far you can go beyond TVMA, but they somehow accomplished that. But I will give them credit with that match. That was fucking brutal, insane wrestling I have never seen in a very, very long time. It reminded me of a lower level version of what Terry Funk and Mick Foley used to produce on a wrestling pay-per-view matchup. So kudos to them for their performance at Full Gear last month. But this match was a fun, entertaining match. It went all over the place. Either one of them could have won. Thankfully, the Young Bucks finally pick up a victory. Do I expect them to win the World Tag Team titles from SCU? Of course not. You would have to be a fucking moron to think that that's going to happen. It's not. I picture something of a interference by Pride and Powerful, by Santana and Ortiz at the end of their match. And we see a triple threat match between SCU, Ortiz and Santana versus the Young Bucks. That I can see happen for the pay-per-view. This matchup really is just to give some kind of hype and purpose for people who want to tune in, which I'm sorry, AEW, you failed at that miserably. I think that NXT is the superior show for the 18th. So anybody that's watching Wednesday Night Wrestling, you should want to tune in for NXT over AEW. I'm just sorry. The AEW has got nothing to offer next week. I apologize for that. I love AEW. I'm a fan of this product. I wish they would change some of the things back to what they were doing originally. Right now, they are not delivering like they were before. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a grouch. I don't mean to sound negative. I don't feel like they're delivering what they could have, what they've been delivering earlier on. Right now, this is not the normal AEW I've been used to since I started watching them. So that's just my opinion. Leave your comments and opinions down below. I'll get back to you on that. Hit the like button if you like this video. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. I am always providing videos week after week after week. The other thing is, I did not provide a NWA Power episode review because they did not provide me a episode to watch. So I had no way of reviewing it. So I apologize about that for all my YouTuber subscribers to my channel that watch my channel for specifically NWA Power. They just didn't provide anything for me to watch. So I had nothing to review at that point. So I do apologize to all of you who tune in my program for that. But anyway, guys, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great night, and I'll see you again, wrestling fans. Bye.